Check.
It's 1:30 o'clock.
1:30, we are sticking to the schedule.
Sticking to the script. Welcome to Emerge, Artistic Intersections of the Black Midwest. How are we doing? How are we feeling? Can I get some? Okay, that works.
Love the claps.
This is an inaugural event, meaning this is our first time doing a person-to-person event in the real life, away from the keyboard. So welcome to the physical realm. We want to warmly welcome you into the space and express how excited we are to have you in here. For those of you that don't know, this is my bestie, co-conspirator, brainiac genius friend, Candace, award-winning art director, brainiac, poet, literary visionary, and a really cool dress wearer. Candace is a Washington, D.C. resident, a steward of memory and culture. Her work explores the blurred boundaries between digital and physical, and how technology reshapes intimacy and connection. Through her practice, she explores the unseen, examining how we unfasten and refasten ourselves across the arc of our lives. Her work is informed by contemplating spirituality and a research-based approach, creating an ecosystem attuned to the pulse of the cultural zeitgeist where art, culture, and history are intertwined to deepen understanding and cultivate community. With a focus on kinship, memory, and the mystery of the creative process, Candace creates space that inspires discourse, fosters connection, and invites others to reach wholeness.
OMG, that was a lot, but very good. Thank you, Bree, and hello to everyone. We just want to say thank you so much for being here. Again, just want to welcome everyone to the space, and also just note, be very mindful when walking, because there's a live stream currently happening, so just make sure you're not blocking the live stream. But again, we just want to introduce Within. We're here. It's been a labor of love.
Through all the labor. A raven is.
But again, thank you, Bree, for that very wonderful, very kind introduction. And now I want to introduce Bree. Let's give it up for Bree. Let's give it up for the fit. Do we see the denim on denim? We see the tabby sneakers. Like, we're in the respite. That's how you know. So, Bree Robinson, government, in my words, is a curatorial, creative, comedic, and culinary genius who is constantly expanding the cultural conversation as a digital griot and Midwestern propagandist with a focus on the intersections of art, technology, and the sociological. Holding a BA from Kent State University, in sociology and art history, along with a master's degree in modern and contemporary art history from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Bree has an extensive background in curatorial research, historical conservation, and museum education, honed through roles at prestigious institutions such as the Cleveland Museum of Art, the Studio Museum Harlem, and the Kent State University Museum. Their work has consistently centered on amplifying perspectives from Black Midwesterners, both through traditional curatorial practices and innovative digital platforms.
Oh my God, like this?
Like this!
Wow!
As Bree noted, this is Emerge, Artistic Intersections of the Black Midwest, an inaugural event and exhibition hosted by us.
Us?
Us.
Wow, Within Digital?
Within Digital.
Wow.
That's us. And we're here with all of you. And you all too. Are Within Digital.
We are.
So if you don't know, Within Digital is a digital respite engaging Black artists, creatives, and the art curious in curated conversations about art, the creative process, and being Black on the internet in the 21st century. We see the digital respite as a place where Black artists and those who are art curious can gather in authentic discourses around art, creative process, and Black digitality. A definition of the word respite that we find resonant is a delay or a cessation for a time. And today, Emerge will be a space for us to render standard conventions of time obsolete, except for our schedule, okay? And shift our attention to a different type of time, one that is measured by deep engagements with the arts, community building, and curiosity.
Black people time?
Black people time.
Okay. In 2020, we launched Within Digital during a global panoramic to sustain a sense of camaraderie between Black artists in our community. Since then, we've hosted several conversations in the digital realm with folks from across the Midwest and beyond through Instagram Lives, Zoom streams, poetry workshops, and collaborations with institutions like the Studio Museum in Harlem, We've witnessed the power of building a community at the intersection of art, Blackness, and the digital. In 2023, we won an award through Space's Satellite Fund that allowed us to actualize our big dreams and expand the respite, like right now. So we thought, what better way to connect with people from our virtual communities than in our home city? Our goal has always been to uplift Black Midwesterners, and as I always say, the Midwest shall rise again.
Repeat that.
The Midwest shall rise again.
Everyone else repeat that. Exactly.
Exactly. How better to prove this than with the city-centric celebration of our emergence?
Exactly. The Midwest shall rise again. So we want to make sure that everyone gets the most out of our shared time together. So we're going to point you to the things you should take note of, which is first our zine. Who has grabbed the zine?
Do you have a zine?
Nobody's
Oh my
grabbed the
gosh.
zine? Let's get the zine.
Let's get the zine.
Yeah, you gotta read the zine. There's essays, poems, reflections, and artwork by artists and authors from across the Midwest. And the topics range widely. We talk about Lake Erie, Ohio's influence of the internet, the sonics of the Black Midwest, predictive policing technologies that span Ohio to Cape Town, South Africa, transness and supernatural possession in Cleveland, Toni Morrison, and grandmothers in true within digital fashion are mentioned more than once. So check out the zine.
We also curated an exhibition with photos, screen prints, films, mixed media composites, and fiber arts. These works capture the spirit of Emerge through pieces referencing Cleveland directly and pieces engaging with the digital, converging to represent the complexities of Black Midwestern life and digital existence. In addition, there's also space to make contributions of our own to Midwest history through our oral history booth. We want you to make friends, link and build. There's a loneliness epidemic in this country that's affecting all of us, so please set the intention to talk to at least one new person. Even if you don't know where to start, just say, what's your name? Throughout the conversation, we'll also be referencing a few books that have shaped our thinking as we put this event together. And if you're interested in being literary pals, we've compiled a book list that we curated of titles that you can pick up in the THIRDSPACE bookshop account. Also check out their bookstores right there in the back.
In the back. And briefly, we also want to talk a little bit about the history of this building that we're in. So if you don't know, this is a piece of Black Cleveland history. And in 1960, Robert P. Madison, the first licensed Black architect in the state of Ohio, designed the Medical Associates Building for Black doctors, whom university hospitals and Mount Sinai Medical Center excluded from practicing. 9 Black medical professionals physically and financially came together to form Medics, Inc., and these doctors commissioned the building to invest in and care for their community. This building was also home to Deuteronomy 8:3 Cafe for nearly 14 years, and was a pillar in the community for fellowship, cultural celebration, and collective education, but also community organizing and advocacy. And we just want to give thanks to these legacies whose energies are still present in this space, and as we seek to enter into this lineage of building empowering Black-centered spaces, we just want to honor that.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Okay, divas, it's time to get serious. Let's set some intentions for the space today, as we always do when we enter the respite. Today's mission, as noted, is to spread Midwestern pride. We desire for this space to be a place where we can empower and uplift Black artists from Cuyahoga County by providing a platform for showcasing their work. We want to be who we are for our pride, you guys. We're here to promote regional pride and celebrate the Black Midwest by highlighting these contributions of Black artists in the various ways that we've expressed. We're trying to spread the agenda. The Midwest shall rise again.
Say it again.
The Midwest shall rise again.
The Midwest shall.
The Midwest shall rise again.
Rise again.
And in addition, we would like to foster community engagement and connection through the establishment of an oral history archive and interactive activities. Let's link, let's build, let's create. And lastly, let's cultivate an inclusive space that encourages dialogue, learning, and appreciation for Black Midwestern creativity. That's it. That's what we're gonna do. Sound good? Okay.
So hopefully, I'm not going to run through the schedule too much right now. Hopefully you can scan the QR code that will tell you everything. But right now, we're in the welcome. We're about to have our amazing conversation in a few minutes. And then we'll break for lunch. And lunch will also be a time for doing art activities. So there's going to be a lot of fun things you can do that we'll talk a little bit about before we end. And then we will close at 5:30. And you can, if you haven't signed up for the oral history booth, we tell you to do that now. We really, really, really want to capture everybody's stories, and that'll be really awesome. And yeah, we'll explain how food will work once we get to that point. And if you have any questions, you can just let us know.
In the meantime, let's shout out our sponsors. Thank you to the Romy Biscuit. Thank you to THIRDSPACE Action Lab. Thank you to Spaces. Thank you to the Andy Warhol Foundation, by which the satellite fund is provided. Thank you.
Yes. And now it's time to emerge into our intergenerational artist conversation. So help us in welcoming McKinley Wiley and Robert C. Banks to the Biscuit. Alrighty, mic's on. Oh, mask off, mic's on.
Mask off, mic's on.
My mic's on.
Wow, great.
Welcome.
Alright, well, first, let's just appreciate the swag, right? Like, the shirts. Let's
see
look.
it.
Home sweet home.
Locally made.
And we're all dripped out besides me.
Well, you're dripped out.
I mean, dripped out in the emerge.
Emerge.
Official.
The cloud
Official.
merge. I see this.
You're right.
Which one of y'all designed this?
This.
I did.
This is dope.
You should get a patent for this.
Yeah, this you need to do that. This I like
We
this.
actually have tattoos of it. But
Yes,
that's not
please get the
appropriate.
temporary tattoos.
That's impressive. No, seriously.
Yes.
I buy that.
Okay, look at that. Everyone please get a shirt. So we're just so excited to be in conversation with both of you. This is just going to be a really awesome time, but I'm going to start by introducing McKinley. So McKinley Wiley is a self-taught editorial portrait artist based in his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. Since he picked up a camera 20 years ago, his intention has always been to empower people to see the beauty within themselves, even if only for a brief moment. Typically, photography is his chosen medium. However, during this past winter, he has taken a strong liking to printmaking, monoprinting to be specific. Last fall, he was a recipient of the Proof Printmaking Residency at Zygote Press, Cleveland, Ohio. His work has been shown in galleries such as Notre Dame College, Bostwick Design Partnership, the New Glick Building on Metro Health's main campus, and the Cleveland History Center of the Western Reserve Historical Society.
It's your turn. Mr. Banks. Robert. Mr. Banks. Robert? Robert. Okay. Robert C. Banks was born in 1966 and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. He's attended Cleveland Institute of Art and Cleveland State University and has also served in the U.S. Air Force. Inspired by his father, Banks is an experimental filmmaker, cinematographer, and teacher of filmmaking and photography at numerous colleges and universities. Banks' films have been screened at numerous prestigious film festivals and art institutions, both domestically and abroad, such as Sundance Film Festival, South by Southwest Film Festival, International Film Festival in Rotterdam, Museum of Modern Art, the Robert Flaherty Film Seminar, Chicago Underground Film Festival, and Ann Arbor. He is a recipient of numerous awards, including Filmmaker of the Year at the Midwest Filmmakers Conference, and his film retrospectives have been featured at the BBC British Short Film Festival, the Cleveland Cinematheque, and the Walker Center for the Arts. One of Banks' best-known works is the 1992 short film X, The Baby Cinema, which chronicles the commercialization of Malcolm X's image and legacy. Some of his...
I didn't know that part about it, sorry.
No. Sorry. Some of his other films include Motion Picture Genocide, My First Drug, The Idiot Box, Outlet, Goldfish and Sunflowers, AWOL, Autopilot, and Don't Be Still, all of which were shot and edited on 16 and 35mm film. Several of his short films have been added to the private collections of institutions such as the Yale University Film School and the Walker Center for the Arts. Most recently, Banks has completed his first 35mm film feature, Paper Shadows, which was 7 years in the making. That's his film.
Let's give it up for our conversationalist.
So, for those of you that don't know, all of our talks start with setting the expectations for the space, so we'd love to share those with you right now. Conversations in Midwest Connections will center Blackness in the diaspora, which means any form of racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia of any kind will not be tolerated.
Today's convo will be about 40 minutes, and then there will be time for a 15-minute Q&A at the end, so please reserve your thoughts and questions until that time.
During our digital talks, we love for the audience to engage in the form of emojis, but today, since we're in person, we'd love for you to snap, in agreement, or respond audibly when you hear something you really resonate with. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Let's try it. I was eating cheese earlier. Do you resonate with that? Good.
Not me, I can't have dairy. So we always like to begin our talks with a question that kind of grounds us in the space. So we're going to pose this question to each of you, and I'm going to invite McKinley to answer first. So that question is, how are you entering the respite today?
That is a great question. I'm entering the respite with the biggest ball of emotions that you can probably imagine right now. I was telling one of the photographers here earlier that I'm not even used to being in front of the camera, so it's hard to even put that. It's hard to answer that question like in one word about how I'm entering it. I guess I'm entering it as myself. Yeah, just as McKinley, the artist, whatever that is.
Lovely, thank you. Mr. Banks, how are you entering the respite today?
That's a good answer. I guess you could say I'm feeling blessed, gratitude. It's just great being somewhere like this. I mean, it's just any chance I get to experience something like this, you just gotta just let go and everything, because it's usually for us, either it's academia or it's just business and work. But something like this is just you just take it all in. So it's a blessing and a half. So I guess you could say that's how I feel. Especially because there's like a strong creative vibe here. And that's something that we don't get enough of. And you're going to hear me say it a lot throughout this whole talk. So, yeah. I'm recovering from the flu also. I'm not contagious, but I feel this is probably the best I've felt in a while too. So I was going to save that, but yeah. So I feel great.
So to sort of situate, my first question for the group. What's your relationship to Cleveland? And can you talk a little bit about your lineage, like how you got here in the city, in this beautiful city in the mighty Midwest?
Did you want him to go first or just me?
Anyone?
Since you were looking at me, I'll go first, since I'm actually talking right now. So Cleveland is very much my hometown. I grew up in Warrensville Heights on the east side. Been here my whole life. It's very much home. It's in a lot of ways it's been my studio, and yeah, it's very much home. I have family here. My business is based here. Yeah, it's a big part of me.
My attachment here? Pretty much same thing. I was born and raised here. I grew up in the Huff area. My parents aren't from here originally. My mom is originally from California. My father was originally from Missouri, even though he was born in Mississippi, but they both met by chance. So my mom already had 4 kids. She met my dad, they had me, and pretty much this area geographically I'm so connected to it. Everything about this area, especially the geographic landscape here. It's a key element of what makes me who I am, I guess you could say, because I'm so attracted to the railroad tracks, because you can hear those every night. The steamboats and the freighters on the lake, we were that close to the lake. The freeway and the airport, so I literally grew up with all that, and my dad worked down there at the Muni lot. We used to be down there like every weekend hanging out with my dad, so that was my childhood. And aside from that, being in the Huff area, the Superior area, so that's a key element in terms of what makes Robert Banks, especially the old neighborhood. So
The industry of it, that's
oh yeah,
fascinating.
it all comes together.
Kinley, where's your family from? Is your family from Cleveland?
Yeah. So my mom is from here. Technically, my dad is from here, even though he was born in Mississippi. My mom, she grew up in the central area. She graduated from East Tech, and she lived in the Off-Way homes with her 3 sisters. My dad came here when he was really, really young. I'm not sure exactly why he moved here, but he had various blue-collar jobs, really literally up to this day, actually. My mom, she was a nurse for a number of decades. She's retired now, too. So, yeah, but Cleveland is home for them, too, very much so.
Beautiful.
That's really good, and we really want to start with that kind of family lineage and the ways that all of us have found our ways to Cleveland, whether by birth or by other kind of being a Cleveland transplant. And so it's really amazing to hear about your relationships to Cleveland and how it inspires your creative work. So both of you are photographers, among many other things, and we really want to talk about what each of your creative journeys has been like. So let's talk a little bit about that, but also we want to hear how both of you met each other, because you're old friends.
Oh, man.
It's kind of unofficial by accident, I guess you could say.
I'll go first, because there might be some conflicts or whatever, holes in the stories of how we met. I remember I used to work at Dodd Camera downtown, the main store. I'm pretty sure that's how I met him. And I started working there in the fall of '07. And at some point, I think, in that time period, I met him for the first time. I had heard about him before that, but it was up and running after that, to say the least. Since working at Dodd, he got me a job. He helped me get a job at Newbridge, and I've worked on film projects with him. It's crazy to even be doing this with him right now, because I learned a lot about my artistry through him. So it's really an honor being up here with a fellow Virgo artist.
Virgo alert.
They're here.
But yeah, I've always looked up to Robert Banks, and I'm pretty sure that's how we met when I was working at Dodd. But
The Midwest connection.
you can go.
Okay, well, I know he's talking the Dodd thing, and he's half right, but actually, we met before that, unofficially. It was to a mutual friend of ours. She was a designer named Jasmine White.
Okay.
And she mentioned to me, because I did some photos for her for Cleveland Fashion, this was way back, and she mentioned that she knew this young guy, he's really good, he needs someone to mentor him. Can you look at his work? I'm like, okay, sure, why not? And I met McKinley later, and I was like, okay, yeah, young dude, he hasn't aged at all, looks exactly the same. That was like 20 years ago, maybe.
I just got more facial hair now, but that's really the only difference.
You didn't have any hair then either, but that's okay. No, you look exactly the same. He did not age at all. So I got to know him there, and then from there, by chance, you were working at Dodd's, and I was already a Dodd's alumni, so I was there on the record. So and that's pretty much how it kicked off. So that was 20 years ago. Yeah.
Just about, yeah.
And you got married before I did, so that's cool. Yeah.
Coincidentally.
He's always beat me to the punch. Yeah.
What a beautiful Midwestern connection.
Yeah,
That's so sweet.
I also just want to give a shout out
Shout out to
To
Dodd
New-
Camera.
to Dodd Camera,
Oh,
who is helping us with the oral history booth today. And also want to shout out Newbridge, because that's where I met both of you.
wow.
Yes.
So I was a photography student,
Yeah,
and
not mine, but
but in the spirit of community and the spirit of learning from everyone. Yeah, learned from both of you a lot about how to be a photographer. So that's
You still look the same, too.
I still like the same.
You had glasses at the
You
time.
look exactly the same. Minus the glasses.
Minus the glasses.
What
Okay.
are the odds? We love a Midwest connection. So that leads to my next question. I would like to wonder, I'm curious, what does it mean to be a Black Midwesterner? Or what does it mean to be a Black Midwestern artist? Someone working within Cleveland. I'll throw that to Mr. Banks.
Yeah, you go first this time. Yeah.
Ask me the hard question. Okay. I'm going to be as uplifting as possible here. No, because once again, I grew up here, born and raised here, and my situation was kind of odd because you see, my parents were very blue collar. My dad worked for the city. My mom, she was a parent counselor at Rainey Head Start. You guys know Rainey over there? She was there for ages. And we were put into the creative arts strictly as recreation and nothing else. Because my parents, unfortunately, had this belief that you can't make money in the art world as a black man. It just doesn't, that doesn't exist. But you can do it as an activity, and it keeps you out of trouble, you get to meet people, da-da-da-da-da. But I knew immediately that, hey, I want to do this, and I want to make a living doing this. And I also want to disprove this fact that you can be a black man and succeed as an artist. And there's been many people long before me that have done it, and there's going to be many people after me that's going to do it. Mm-hmm. So my parents, I think, were like many other folks in that age group. And my parents were much older, by the way. They were like, they could have been my grandparents. My mom was 41 when she had me, and my dad was 52. So, yeah. They were very old school. So I was raised in a lot of these old school values. So that made me very rebellious. And I was going to fight against that whole ideology because it's like, no, it's like, I can do whatever I want, and I'm going to do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it was going to be an uphill battle like it was, and it's still an uphill battle, but it's doable. I mean, the things that you mentioned, the stuff that I've done, a lot of people have a hard time. You did all that, and the thing is, I did that without grant money or any funding. I did that was out of pocket. I worked extra jobs, and I know you didn't mention it, but I'm self-taught also. Everything about me is self-taught.
Do all the labor.
Yeah, exactly. So the Midwest attitude, I think, in terms of just you got to pull your sleeves back and just get down and dirty. My dad sort of expressed that, but I think he was thinking in more terms of getting a real job. Mm-hmm. But later on, when he saw that I was so into working with cameras and lighting and sound and doing creative stuff with pictures and stuff like that, all of a sudden he opened up to more like, well, maybe you can do that, and maybe you can't do that. My mom still strictly saw it as, oh, he'll grow out of that. That's just a hobby. He'll grow out of that. And so, but what really bothered me more than anything else was, and this is what made me even more aggressive, was my parents would praise people like, not to bring his name up, but someone like Spike Lee. They would praise him, saying, oh, look at what he's doing. I'm thinking, well, Mom, I could do that too, but for some reason you got this mentality that, oh, well, you know, because I wanted to go to New York when I graduated high school to go to film school. Oh, no, you can't go to New York. Oh, no, you won't go there. Because my parents were overprotective. And so these are the things I had to deal with throughout a good chunk of my youth. And it was really awkward to sort of sidestep and try to find other means to get to where I wanted to be. And a good chunk of what I've done these last 35, 40 years is because of that. And also because we're living in the Midwest and everything here for the arts is seen as more recreational and not so much occupational, that made it hard also. And we can talk more about that later because I want to hear what Kinley has to say. So.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah, that was lovely. Thank you.
A lot of that's somewhat relatable to how I am a Black Midwestern artist, or an artist who just happens to be Black and from the Midwest. You definitely have to put the work in. I think there's no denying that. There's no debate on that. You know, really, no matter where you're from in the world. But that's definitely true for this part from being in Ohio. Yeah, it's, as far as me, I guess developing as an artist, I knew, particularly with the, I'll just go into the mono prints, I knew I wanted to do something with my hands. And the way I make those prints, you have to literally physically use your hands and your arm strength. So that, I connect with that on that level. Yeah, I don't know how else to eloquently put it, like how I relate to that. Like,
I'm fascinated by this connection between all of us and like industry. We're talking about like sort of contrasting these ideas that we have about art as not industrious and not like taking its places, and then you're touching on like doing things in a physical way.
Yeah, I want to jump on that too, what you just said and what you just said right there, because a lot of it has to do with maintaining an identity and being true to that and being yourself. That is the one big thing people miss around here. I keep telling people, don't try to be like you're in New York or LA, because you're not. You're in a place like this. However, this foundation is what established places like that. People in LA and New York or these bigger markets, they come from places like in the Midwest. And a lot of people don't get that. And so my thing is, I'm gonna put as much of me and what makes Northeast Ohio and in the hood, me, into what I do. And that's what I've been doing. And I never compromise that. However, I've had so many people in the industry, in LA and New York, saying, well, you're in the wrong place, man. You need to be here. It's like, well, yeah, I wanna be there and I wanna do good and make money, but I'm not, I can't sell out. I can't just, you still got to stay true to that. And I had so many friends in the business that were from here that are in that industry, and they're not the same anymore. And they're total, I don't want to say they're sheep, but they're like not doing anything special with themselves except for mimicking what the paint by numbers process goes. And it's just, you really got to try to maintain that integrity. And a lot of people tend to forget that integrity and identity is a key component in being an artist, no matter what you do. Because the minute you start compromising a little bit, then it gets bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden you lost yourself and you sold your soul. So,
Yeah. Let's clap on that.
That's just the truth. That's just my opinion.
That's the truth.
That's the truth.
I think one thing that I want to also note in this talk about, you just mentioned the importance of regionality, and that's something we touch a lot on in the zine, a lot. And I would like to kind of explore that a little bit too, particularly Brie, like your piece, and talking about Lake Erie and talking about Toni Morrison and her claiming it as central to her work and not something to push away, but
So
I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about it.
I think about it all the time. I think that making things, we have to understand, okay. I'm about to start. I'm Sagittarius. I feel like we are all striving to go somewhere. There are journeys far and wide, but we're all coming from some place. Why not honor the places that we're coming from?
Gag it.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here. Let's do it everywhere. And I find that, what was I about to say?
You were going to talk about Toni Morrison and centrality.
Oh yes, when Toni Morrison was like, I made the margin center or whatever.
Stood at
I
the
felt
lip.
that when she stood at the lip of Lake Erie and brought people to the lip of Lake Erie with her storytelling. That meant something to me. And I find that's something that y'all do through your work. I find that that's something that artists are called to do time and time again. So I don't think that has to be something that exists only on the coast. Like that's not a proclivity that belongs to a specific region.
Well, it's funny, see, you mentioned Lake Erie. Lake Erie for me is a key element of what I love about this place. I mean, since I was a kid, the kids and my neighbors back on Dibble Avenue, they would walk to the lake and go fishing, and I would go with them and everything. And I always wanted to go fishing, but my dad never let me do that. But that's a whole other story. But the lake was always there, and I have a hard time explaining that to people because if you look at some of the work that I've done, it's probably not in the presentation I showed, but I have a ton of sunset photos. I love the sunsets here, and the whole element of light, and we talk about that, he knows where we're going with this, but light is a key element, but the fact that you have the lake and the different colors of the lake and the different shifts of color and hues based on the season and all that, that was something that I've definitely gravitated towards. So I can see Toni Morrison's, her whole concept of that. I think we all share that. That's just something that, and we're blessed to have that. I tell people the Great Lakes, this part of the country, is so dynamic with that, these bodies of water that are so removed from everything else, but yet at the same time, they sort of unify all of us. And it's a sight to behold. And every night, I just praise God, praise Jesus, thank you, we have this water, and keep it clean, and, the river, all that stuff. It's a key element. And if I relocate, I have to be near water. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And so that is just, some of the best work I've done has been by the lake. And it just keeps me inspired here, so even when it's frozen.
One thing that I kind of touch on in my piece in the zine is about how I feel like as Black Ohioans and Black Midwesterners, we cultivate a lot of deep interiority because of the landscapes that we're able to engage in. And so this kind of feeds into my next question, and we've touched on it a lot about the distinctly Cleveland approach that your artwork takes. And McKinley, I'd love to hear from you about that and how to cultivate that authenticity because, like you mentioned, people are, and Brie also talked about it too, about how we're always aspiring to go somewhere, but we forget where we're at if we don't take the time to sit with it and be curious about it. And so in thinking about authenticity and how authenticity requires that examination, that curiosity, would love to hear from you about that.
Yeah, well, you heard me mention earlier that the better part of the city has been my studio. I'm always on location somewhere I guess, either common or uncommon, getting a portrait of somebody. And that could be for any reason, whether it be for business or just creative reasons. And I think having that type of approach for myself, therein lies the authenticity. You know, but at the same time, and in full transparency, I think sometimes I try to go, or I'll try to go to places that don't distinctly look like Cleveland intentionally, just so when someone is seeing my work for the first time, they'll ask, well, where is that? It doesn't even look like Cleveland, and I know you're from Cleveland. So I always try to do that a lot, almost every time actually, that I take a portrait, because it's like, we've probably been to the duck pond a million times to take photos, or, you know, any other common places by the lake, like Edgewater, or et cetera, you know, one of the piers. But, you know, sometimes I try to just mix it up a bit, I guess. But that doesn't mean I don't think that's inauthentic in a way.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I think that ties into your work that we're exhibiting as well. You're abstracting from something. You're taking something that is local, and then you are pulling it into something else.
Yeah.
It's like art, yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely that, and I'm still figuring out what the hell that really is.
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, I just started. That literally started like pretty much earlier this year, and it's all of that's just coming from somewhere deep in the crevices of my brain, and I'm using portraits that I've taken, some from like decades ago, some are recent. It's like, yeah, it's a mix of photos and portraits that I'm just reworking into the monoprint. So I'm not even sure how to really put that into words yet. It's definitely abstract, and I'm just having fun with it right now.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating. I'm thinking about language. I'm thinking about process, prefix is pro. We're mastering something, we're going somewhere, we're progressing, we're moving beyond one point to another point.
Yes.
Thinking about being curious, I'm thinking about curation. We are curing something that takes time. I was just thinking about that. That was just what I had out loud.
Yeah, and I think your point about, is it inauthentic to make a space that's in Cleveland not look like Cleveland, or like, you know, just like wrestling with that a little bit. And I would say, you know, authenticity is bred through the investigation, like in the seeing what's like there, but also imagining what is kind of beyond there, like what you're bringing to it in that process of making. And so I think, you know, Cleveland is the source material, but there's also, Cleveland is within you.
Within.
It's
Whether you like it or not, it's in you.
Whoa!
Within all
that's definitely true.
I think if we think about the process and you, in the process from your viewpoint, your standpoint, like you are Cleveland, and so anytime
Yes.
you make work, like it's Cleveland.
Absolutely. And I think well, it just popped in my head, but like a lot of the cool places that are good to photograph, and I think are just really, really, I like to think very accessible to people, whereas in some other places, some bigger places, that might not be the case, or you might have to pay fees or whatever just to even get into the spot, and then you might be limited on time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, but Cleveland has a lot of cool places that are just open to the public.
Mm-hmm. You know what other places open to the public?
Oh gosh.
The
What's that?
World Wide Web, everybody. The World Wide Web, which pivots into my next inquiry. I'm wondering, how do you think your creative process has evolved and perhaps been shaped by use of digital technology?
Oh boy.
I'm the worst person to ask for that.
Oh boy. So, restate that last part of the question.
I'll just
I
ask
know
the
you're gonna
whole
tackle this,
question.
but this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
How has your creative practice evolved and been shaped by the use of digital technology?
Oh, okay. So, I primarily shoot digital photography. So it's basically the foundation of what I do, even though, to make this sound cool, I'll just tell a brief story. I started out doing photography. I had a little compact digital camera. It was 6 megapixels. I won it in a contest, and that's how I got inspired to do what I'm doing now. Skip ahead 20 plus years, actually. Now I've been shooting a lot more film. You might have seen me earlier here today. I have the big block camera. That's all mechanical. It shoots film. And I've been doing that a lot more lately, just so I can slow down and take my time with my work. But technology is digital. It's just how we move now. So I mean, it's about to be 2025. So yeah, you know, and it's even more ironic. I take the film images that I shoot with me and my RB, and then I just scan them and I post them on Instagram, and then the scans, the high risk scans, live on my hard drive, my external hard drives. You know, so it's
inevitable. The digital is inevitable.
Exactly.
At least now.
That's the key word, inevitable. Yeah. I know you chomping at the bit, like, I know.
It is what it is, man.
That's my, yeah, I don't think I'd be the artist that I am without
the visual?
The digitization and the Internet of Things. It just wouldn't work, per se.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to back him up 100%. However, I'm going to give him a big rebuttal on this, because everything that I've done up until the internet, I did it with me, my own 2 hands and everything else before there was any digital stuff. Now, I consider digital technology, in terms of how it's progressed, is a phenomenal tool. Mm-hmm. And there's so many great things I benefited from using digital technology and the internet and everything. And I'll be the first to tell you, in the last 15, 20 years, I've learned so many new things because of that. At the same time, that knowledge improved my knowledge with the traditional analog process as well. What I don't like, though, is, and this is nothing negative here, but because people say, he's the naysayer. I think the problem is you have now all of a sudden these people that think, oh, I'm going to be analog, I'm going to screw the system. No, and all of a sudden everybody's posting something, analog this, analog that. It's like, well, there's nothing wrong with being analog, but why you got to flaunt that around? Just like there's all these people that want to be digital that say analog sucks. It's like there's new paths to explore with new means of expression and through technology and methods that allow that. My thing is, don't be lazy and don't bypass the fundamentals and don't bypass the knowledge and the history and the aesthetic. Because, no offense, because people think, oh, you're just a snob. No, I'm not. It's just that I'm sick of meeting people that's telling me that they're a cinematographer, but they don't know anything about optics. They don't know anything about lighting. They don't know anything about measuring color temperature. They just want to buy the high-end gear and just, I'm sorry, that's just how it is now. But every so often, I'm like, look, you want to do something, do it, but don't be enslaved by the technology, because as soon as you start buying gear and relying on that, in my opinion, you flunked, and you're never going to be anything but a consumer. And people put consumerism into this. Now, going back to the digital stuff in terms of how I work with it, same thing. I've shot, if it wasn't for the fact I have allergic reaction to chemistry, I would be doing more darkroom work, but in the last couple of years, I can't use chemicals like I used to. So, I shoot on film, and I'll scan stuff and I upload it and everything too. So it's the same thing. I consider that actually digital photography.
Yeah.
Because my philosophy has always been the end result of what your piece is the medium that it is. Now, I shoot film all the time, but I prefer my motion picture films. I prefer to finish those on film. But there is now ways to show things through the internet, through Vimeo, through Instagram, whatever. There's lots, you can show stuff like, which is fine. But the ideas and the concepts I have from my process, from my heart to my brain to some paper, what it's going to be and how it's presented, I want that preferably to be shown on celluloid in a theater. That's my ultimate goal. But in this day and age now, you have to sort of, DCPs look pretty good, and it's a lot quicker and easier and all that. If you guys know what a DCP is, that's what most movies are shown on now. But I also at the same time get annoyed because they'll make a big deal about, Chris Nolan and Quentin Tarantino, they shoot on film. And I'm just thinking, well, why do you put them on a pedestal when there's like a couple thousand other guys like me doing this? We've never stopped, I mean, it's just it's this whole digital film, I think
it sounds like you're saying these things need to merge.
No, for me they have merged. They merged with me years ago, because I have no problem using, I mean, I don't like relying on computers, but it's a necessary evil, and I'm always, you know, my laptop and everything, but at the same time, no, I mean, it's a tool. As long as it's a tool, you're fine, but don't let it enslave you. And I just think there's a lot of artists that, once again, no offense, but I think a lot of people bark their way into being an artist because of the technology allows them to fake it, you know, so to speak. I mean, if you don't have any ideology or theory behind what you do with what you see and feel, how you translate it, you're just relying on click, 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 click. I'm done. Look at me, 5,000 likes. Well, I'm a celebrity. I'm a rock star. You know, F you. That's, and I've told students that because they can't tell me anything about what they did to initiate the idea, the concept of what they're creating, what lens, what filter. And you know, even if you're going to go into post-production, because people want to say editing, I'm like, well, fine, but you're not really editing, you're grading, or you're basically just sort of formatting something so you can present it. But you know, once again, it all starts with this thing here and this thing up here, and I'll conclude with this. I don't care how far we go into the distant future. You know that song by Zagger and Evans, in the year 25. Listen to that song, classic song. We are always going to be analog. There's no way we're going to be electronic. I mean, this is cool, but we don't want this in us. We're going to be flesh and blood analog beings. The trees, the water, the air, the pavement, the flowers, the grass, the birds.
The sun.
It's all, and the sun. And it all comes from the sun. It all comes from the almighty sun. That's never going to change, unless, of course, someone's going to eradicate us and bring us back as bytes and gigabytes or whatever. I don't know. I mean, because that's sci-fi, but, you know, read Isaac Asimov or, you know, but no, I mean, pretty much, yeah. I mean, we're always going to be analog. So as long as we remember that we have these tools that are really fast and spontaneous and it allows us to express and communicate, I'm all about it, man. Bring it on. But at the same time, I can't let that hold me back as being a flesh and blood, brain, heart, you know, physical, making things. We're makers, and you know, we make the machines don't make us. Mm-hmm. And when the machines break down, we break down. Mm-hmm. And so that's all I got to say about that. So.
Yeah, well, that was great. Thank you.
I'm not meaning to be, I'm just...
No, because it really, I think, reflects a lot. Also, we call the people who engage within digital gigabytes, so we all are talking like gigabytes right now, but...
we're all numbers in the system.
All members of the system. But I think what you're talking about, I really like that you're talking about us as, like, analog people, that we're not a technology, like we're not technological in that sense, like being a producing like machine, like we're not a machine, but
I mean they're pursuing that with the AI stuff now.
Yeah.
That was expected way back when we saw that coming. So.
Right, but something that we've been like reading a lot about and thinking a lot about is abstracting the word technology away from a digital context only and thinking about like
the technology of the spirit.
The technology of the spirit, the technology just of our movements, and the embodied technology, which you're talking about with the head and the heart, and you know, as we were talking about with Cleveland is Within You. There's a technology in that, in a set of inputs and outputs in the ways that we go through a process, and so
it's all based on that. Everything electronic is based on
right.
Yeah,
right.
That'll always be the foundation.
Right, and so it's interesting to think about that, and is really a key component of within digital. So my next question is: you talked a little bit about the work. You talked a little bit about the work that is in this show. So we'd love to hear from each of you just a little bit about what you have submitted, and yeah.
So yeah, I have 3 of my monoprints on the wall right over there. They're in the, I guess, the larger frames, the more colorful frames over there. Can I just talk about them individually too? Okay. The one in the gold frame furthest from me is a portrait of my wife. It's titled Unfettered 1.5. I took that picture originally on my cell phone, and when I did that, it was, when I see there's like just some type of freedom and a high level of just relaxation, as well as I've been ruminating on the saying that rest is revolution, and given that me and my wife are essentially both full-time artists, we don't get enough time to do that, just rest or be outside of work. So that's what I'm trying to come across with that piece. The one in the middle in the blue frame is me. If you can kind of see it, it was derived from a portrait of me taken from another photographer. But he let me do that to that picture. Since I've been doing these monoprints, I'm really just like, I'm more fascinated with my own image. And I know that probably sounds arrogant or vain or narcissistic to whoever, and that's fine. But it's a lot of things that are still unlocking as I create these prints. So that's a part of that. That's a start of that. It's just, I got really funky with the colors with that. I'm not sure what is really happening with that as of right now, but stay tuned. And then the same is also for the last one with Kyle Kidd. Some of you all may know him. He's an international musician, very close friend of mine. They are there holding a martini glass. We had just finished a shoot at the Duck Pond that day. I took that picture on my cell phone when we went to a restaurant in the Fairmount neighborhood, not the Fairmount Cedar area. We were there eating, and I caught them by the window holding the martini. It was a very fun moment. And again, I got really weird with the colors and just did something fun with that. I don't even think I call it a Kyle Martini. I didn't even know what to title it. But yeah, something unlocked when I did that residency at Zygo earlier this year. I'm still trying to really just I'm trying to just refine it every day. I lose sleep because I'm always thinking about where I could take this, and sometimes I just don't have the time to put into it as much as I would like. But yeah, it's a lot going on there, to say the least, that I'm going to eventually be able to explain better and not ramble like this.
Yeah. I think that was fab. I think that was
Very
really
fab.
good. Lovely. I'm wondering about the relationship or a transition in relationship between photo capturing an image, particularly about your self-portrait. I'm wondering about that difference, and then changing from capturing your own image into doing a monoprint of yourself. Like, how does that feel?
It feels invigorating. For me, it's very satisfying. And when I was younger, I had a lot of self-esteem issues. So having all this attention on me, I'm still processing, just being the guy. Even with my regular commercial photography stuff, I have a reputation for that. So it has something to do with that. And now I'm one of the cool kids per se. I'm still processing that. Whereas, when I was coming up, I was the eyeball kid and I was bullied. So seeing myself like this, that's why you even probably saw me earlier, just literally just enamored by that image of myself. And it was like, wow, I created that.
Yeah.
And it's me, and then other people actually like it too.
Yeah,
that may not even know me, so it's rewarding. It's all the good things, and yeah, I'm still processing.
Nice. Yeah.
Let's clap for that. Yes. The work really embodies the merge. Mr. Banks, would you like to talk a little bit about your work?
Those pieces over there?
Those pieces. Over there, right over there, that everyone should check out.
Yeah, there's 3 of them over there, I guess. Those are actually just basic portraits that I did. I don't know if I forgot the order they're in, but the one of the young lady, that's my friend Jade. She's one of my favorite models. She doesn't really do it now. She's a mom. She has 2 little boys. She misses modeling for me, but I'm the one that sort of got her into the whole modeling thing in a more formal sort of way. She's worked with other photographers, but a lot of it was kind of, I don't want to say the term cheesecake type stuff. You guys know what that is? Well,
We know.
Yeah, exactly. So working with me, she was like, wow, it's like, you're really about the lighting, you're about the composition. And I've done like 15 shoots with her. And
That's relatable.
she learned all this stuff about photography that she had no idea existed because she worked with guys that just wanted to have her look hot with the bikini and all that. But no, but we did a little bit more narrative type stuff. She's been in a few of my films too. And that's one of like I don't know. That shoot there, we shot at Newbridge actually. It was my first shoot with her at Newbridge. And actually she was the first model I brought in to model for the kids at Newbridge. And I just had her hold at the cross. I just said, you know, let's just do something that's somewhat spiritual because she just went through a bad breakup with her boyfriend and she was looking for some spiritual cleansing. I said, hey, let's see that cross. But that was shot on medium format. It has sort of a grittiness to it. I shot that with some expired Tri-X film, if you guys know what that is. I have this reputation of using film that's expired, and when it expires, the grains break down and the silver breaks down a little bit, and depending how it's processed. And we mentioned about that Cleveland thing. I'm a very gritty kind of guy. So every other film it shows that. So that's what that was. But and also those 3 films there are all continuous light, no strobe. So when I shot that with her, that was with a softbox, and that was it. Just one softbox and one bounce. The other picture of the little boy, that was one of several portraits I did with these kids at the Woodhill Community Center. And we did a summer camp there with these kids. And these were some kids from some pretty broken households. And they needed something to do that was going to keep them inspired. And so they asked me and some of the other guys at Newbridge to sort of mentor them. And that kid there, apparently him and his brother had an issue at home a few days before. And they got counseled. And so after that, I sat down with them and tried to get them, say, hey, look, it's going to get better. You guys... So I said, so we went out there, we shot some pictures, and then I said, hey, at the end of the shoot, let me take your picture. And I pulled out my big Hasselblad, and they were like, what's that? And I'm like, that's a camera that I use. They're like, I've never seen a camera like that. And I told them, well, here, just stand here, hold your camera, and be proud, man. You're in charge, And these kids did some really good work, too, with some really phenomenal stuff they did. And he gave me a thumbs up. And that's one of those portraits. And I love that picture, by the way. That just brings tears to my eyes, because those kids we really brought them up out of a lot of nonsense over there. And the other picture, it was the woman. Okay, that was a series I did back in 2005, and I can't remember her husband. Her husband is some famous dude here. He's a motivational speaker. You know who he is?
No, I don't.
There's a dude here, he's a big motivational speaker. I forgot his name, but Giorgio hooked me up with him. You guys know Giorgio Savino? Maybe not, okay.
Well, I know.
I know you do. But anyway, he did some stuff with her and her daughters, and then they saw what I was doing, and I asked, hey, can I photograph you guys too? And they're like, yeah, sure, what do you want to do? But I set up this whole scenario. I turned my whole studio into like this weird domestic household type thing. I had all these props and everything, and I had them in these different outfits. I put them in the poses, and it was like a narrative series. So that was one of like 30 photos that told a story. And but that was the one with the mom, and I couldn't find the negative. That was the actual print that I actually scanned, so give you guys, but I actually have the negative somewhere. But that exhibition was over in Tremont and up in Buckeye years ago. And some of those shots are some of my favorite photos. I wish I had the other ones to give you for that. That's a good picture. And I don't know if you printed the other one, the one from Paper Shadows. Okay, yeah, that's no big deal, but there was another one that was submitted that was a frame from the actual film that I made, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But like what McKinley does with the reliefs, and I do actual painting and drawing on film too, mainly for like motion picture type stuff, but I've done that, and I've actually made a lot of collages, stuff like that too. So that's an example of taking the bare essentials and just something simplistic, because I'm all about simplicity, but still trying to get the whole thing of expression and emotion. And because when I do a photo shoot, it's more like, I treat my photo sessions more like making a little movie. And then when I do my films, it's almost like a photo shoot, because everything is staged, blocked, mapped out, lit. Okay, do this, that. So, so they both work hand in hand, but not pretty much. But I also consider it in many ways like a collage. What was that?
Merging.
Well, there you go. So.
Emerge.
Merger.
Thank you.
Mergers.
So definitely check out the work over there. It's on the white wall. And yeah, I really love hearing about the...
Oh, I didn't mention the film, which you're going to show later, right?
Yeah, we'll
talk
about that maybe later. We have some films showings as well that you can check out. But we'll still have to set that up. But yeah, thank you both for just sharing more about the work and giving us the kind of points of connection within the work. The thinking about the subjects in your work as kind of a part of your communities, I think that's what stood out to me from both of your answers, that you're building relationships with the people that you're photographing and not just seeing them simply as subject matter to exploit,
Yeah.
but there's that relation. Well, I mean, that's not, not something everyone does. Let's be, be honest
It's,
about that.
it's who we are, though. That's just, it's part of what makes us who we are and what we contribute. Because I'm all about giving back, but I also want to maintain as much as possible.
Right.
That's just
The loop.
The loop.
keep it in the loop. Yeah.
Mhm. So we're going to end on this question, which kind of goes into what we just were talking a little bit about with your community, and you two are in community with one another through your relationship with one another that you've had for over 15 years, 20 years?
I'd say, 20 years?
20 years, yeah, almost.
Approximately.
Yeah,
You were
approximately.
a kid when I met you, so yes, it was close to that.
Approximately.
New math. Yeah.
New math.
Who knows? But it's time.
Right, but we want to kind of talk about what does community offline and online, and how does that intersect with your creative practice? Like, where does that intersect with your creative practice in your life? So thinking about your Cleveland community that you engage with here physically in Cleveland, but also online, so we want to kind of hear about both those spaces. The merge.
We didn't go over this question. You threw us a curveball.
No, we did.
She did. We touched upon it. We did, yeah.
We just want to know who's your Cleveland creative community and who, and where do you kind of talk with them, engage with them, spaces that you build community in,
It's
people that you like, people that you don't.
really, it's anywhere, not just in Cleveland, but just throughout Northeast Ohio and beyond, as far as I'm concerned, and that goes either online or in person for myself. I've been particularly the big reason why I'm here. I'm making more efforts and intentions on just connecting more with young people, because I've been seeing a lot of myself in a lot of the other photographers and videographers who are doing this. I see some of them in the room right now, so it's very inspiring to see some people I've been working with, like literally working with, or I've reached out to work with. So it's great, and it's always ever evolving and expanding. So it's not just within Cleveland proper per se.
Within?
Y'all a mess. Y'all are, but yeah, it's not just in that box of CLE. Yeah.
CLE. The land.
Okay. My biggest thing was, more than anything else, I want young people to know that they can do this. And one of the because I ain't gonna lie, I consider myself more of an artist, not a teacher, but yet I spent a good chunk of my life teaching. But part of the goal was I wanted young people not to have to deal with what I had to deal with growing up. I wanted them to know that, hey, look, there's places to go, there's people to talk to, there's resources out there. And that's one of the reasons why I stayed at Newbridge as long as I had, and schools before that too. So I'm sort of tight with different generations of kids that come out of Newbridge and all the other schools that I taught at, and adults too. So that's one aspect of it. Then there's the photo community, who I sort of got reconnected with over the last 30 years also. A lot of people only knew me through my work, and that was it. And they knew me maybe back in the day, back when I was a club kid back in the day. That some of that is still lingering on also. But no, a lot of people knew my work strictly through that. When I would do these crazy photo shoots, I did stuff for Cleveland Fashion Week. It's just the weirdest things. At the same time, people didn't remember me, they remembered the work, which is what I prefer. It's all about the work. And social media, for all its attributes, yeah, you can say that sort of took things to a different level, because I have people all over the world that like what I do for different reasons. I must mind you, there's a lot of interesting people out there. But yeah, it's just, so in that aspect, yeah, the technology was a big plus. But more than anything else, I just make every effort to reach out to people, because it's not about me, it's about the work and having it stand the test of time and just spread the message and the gospel of just being yourself, being alive, and just be free and do whatever it makes you feel happy. But don't hurt nobody, respect other people, respect who you are, and also respect the past and make every effort to maintain that, especially from your grandparents and whatnot. So that's why I connect with a lot of older folks too, because I'm just all about history, the history of Cleveland alone. I mean, we're like near Millionaires Row around here and all. There's just a huge history here that so many people aren't aware of, So it's just, to me, that's what it's all about. And I just try to maintain that because I've met so many people, sadly, that wouldn't, like my mom, sadly, just passed away this year. And, she made it to 98 years old, and there are times when I just wanted to photograph her, and I had to steal photos from her because she didn't like being in front of a camera, but I'm so glad I got what I got. And every so often I was like, wow, I wish I could have did more with her, but she had a thing about, once again, you got to take this somewhere and go meet people, do it that way and all that. And so when people see a camera nowadays, I don't know, people get kind of creeped out by it. So you have to sort of win people over through conversation and just through just any aspect of being yourself. And then once they build that trust and that awareness of what you're trying to say and what you want to express, then you can do that. And I try to express that to the young people. It's more about being a human being. And that's how you maintain that sense of awareness and that sense of community and that bonding, So that's what I'm more about that. And especially trying to, because once again, we know a lot of photographers in Cleveland, and they want to be rock stars. Yeah, a lot of them want to be rock stars. And my thing is, well, why don't you make a name for yourself, do quality work, let the work speak for itself, and then you'll be the rock star because it'll be by default. People are going to gravitate towards your name because, oh, that's a so-and-so, that's a so-and-so. Oh, you see that picture of so-and-so? CD covers, billboards, buses, whatever, I don't know. There's work everywhere, and, we've done it, so. Yeah. But that's pretty much how you build that, and you maintain that, and you got to keep it going, so.
Through all the labor.
I mean, nothing good comes easy, but, so.
We have to remember where we emerge from so we can merge together. Within.
Like the phoenix.
Yeah, like a raven.
Yeah. Like the raven.
Okay.
Through all the labor, a raven is reborn.
I get that. Okay.
Yeah. That's what it
Quote the raven.
Yeah. So now we're going to move into a time of audience Q&A. So we have about 10 minutes, I think, for question and answer. So if you have a question, we would love to take some. Willow?
Yeah, hey y'all.
Hey Willow. And I'll repeat your question.
Okay, assuming Cleveland has a spirit, how has the spirit of Cleveland presented itself to you, either as like sound and image, smell, and have you captured that spirit in your work? Is there a work that you feel like has captured that spirit?
You want to go first?
Wait, can I repeat the question really quick? Okay, so assuming Cleveland has a spirit, how has the spirit, I'm staring at you so I can remember, how has the spirit of Cleveland, whether that's image, sound, was there another one? Smell, just any sensory thing that could be considered a spirit, influenced you and your work?
Or how has it presented itself?
How has it presented itself to you?
And do you feel like you've captured that in one of your work?
Do you feel like you captured it in one of your work? Thank you, Willow, whose piece is in our zine, which you can get right there. Okay.
Want to go first? Okay, go first. That's a big yes in everything you just asked, because the light here every other month is different. No sunset is the same. The sky, the clouds, the overcast, the smell from the lake, the smell from the sewers, the smell from the streets. You go to Little Italy, you go to University Circle, everything has its own scent. The different parks, East Side parks, West Side parks. Edgewater, Lakewood Park, that's one thing, that's great, Huntington. Then the East Side, you got Euclid Beach, Wildwoods, Edgewater, still the park, 72nd, Gordon Park, Sims Park, Minter Headlands. I mean, it's like an endless thing of just natural mystique about this place. The film I made, Paper Shadows, one of the reasons why I made that film, and you were involved with that, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Oh my God.
One of the reasons why I made that film was I wanted to try and capture those nuances on film in black and white. I wanted this to be not just a Rust Belt movie, but a film about the actual overall aura of what this place is. And when I shoot, I try to go for these things that I feel intuitively. There's things in the air, like you said, the smell. There's the reflection of the light and how the light is absorbed. It's just all these things, because when I'm in New York, it's a whole different animal than it is here. When I'm in LA, it's a whole different animal, even though I think there's more similarities to LA to Cleveland than New York is, and even in Chicago, but it's just, there's just something here that is its own thing. And yeah, and that's one of the reasons, no offense, why I like shooting film. It's easy to capture that on film than digital, no offense. You can do it digitally also, but,
No offense.
but when I shoot on film, I literally choose the stock, the filter, the exposure based on that overall aura for that day. And every other shot that I pull up, I'm proud to say I captured some nuance of that. And with all the abandoned buildings and the bando houses and everything and stuff like that, there's just so much to embrace and to relish and all that. And it's just, you know, it's all subjective on the eye of the artist, or all the senses of the artist, I would say. But no, it's just everything here. That's what I like about shooting here, because it's stimulation. I get really stimulated by that. And especially this time of the year. My only problem with this time of the year is the days are short. That's it. Aside from that, because I love daylight. I love natural daylight. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
I wholeheartedly second all that. So me responding to your question is literally what he just said. Only thing I can really add on to that is like, Cleveland is in me, it's within me, so it's,
Within?
I said that on purpose.
Oh, okay. We're learning.
But yeah, it's given that it's a part of me, it's a part of my artwork. But yeah, that's, all of that really applies to what I do too.
Yeah. That's great. And another question?
Right here, John.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, I was listening to this one interview about D'Angelo's album Voodoo, and the guy who made the record, it kind of reminded me of you, Robert, in a way. He said he wanted it all on tape, and he didn't want to use technology at all. So he said like 85% of the record was like on tape. And it kind of reminded me of how you guys are with technology. Do you find yourself like how do you choose what you're going to use? Like if you're going to go straight into film, is it going to be 100% film? Is it going to be 100% digital? Like how do you find like when you want to use like which medium? Like how do you judge that?
For me, and this is a quick response because I know he's gonna go, but like, it's all like feel, and what I feel the goal of the shoot is, or the project is, or just whatever I'm feeling that day. If it's Tuesday, if I want a certain texture, I might just pull out the RB, or if I know there's a time crunch, then I'm gonna use digital. But yeah, it really just depends on what mood I'm in, I guess. Yeah.
I'm sort of the same way, but I'll be honest. Usually when I have an idea that's in the back of my head, I'll ponder it for like a few days, and then at one point I'll grab a piece of paper and a pencil and I'll start sketching it out. And then I'll make notes about what possible exposure or what film would be best for this. And literally from there I'll actually do it. But then there are times when I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and do this. It's a nice day out. I'll grab my Nikon D4, which is a digital camera. In fact, I'll tell you a quick sad story. One time in November, this was 2017, it was a perfect day, and I planned out doing a photo shoot of a landscape over at Dyke 14, which is Lakefoot Nature Reserve over there. And I got there, I had all my props. I literally went all out for this. And I'm sitting there thinking, I should shoot this on film. I should shoot this on film. But no, I'm going to do it on digital. I went out there, I set all this stuff up. Phenomenal shoot, one of the best shoots I ever done. To this day, I regret not shooting that on film, because that should have been a film shoot. The images, the color, the light, everything was so perfect. And I'm just thinking, why did I do this on digital? And the pictures sold. I sold a lot of those photos. They were that good. Because conceptually they were cool, but there was just something unique about them. But I really regretted not shooting that on film. And so every so often you have to think about, is it worth me pulling all this gear out? But most of the time it's like a big yes, because you're gonna have something that's gonna be, so literally, if I have an idea, and if it should be shot in a certain format, I'm gonna design it for that format. But I would never, I mean, after that especially, I'm very critical about if I'm gonna go out of my way to shoot something, and yet just grab my digital camera as opposed to my medium format or my 4x5 or something. But there are times when I really wanna do it, but it's like, okay, so, but no, if it's up here to be one way, format should be how it's gonna be presented, and that's, you know.
That's really good.
A little over the top there.
I think we have time for one more question. Back.
So, okay, I have a question. Well, first things first, I want to say I'm from Detroit. Me and my brother, we from Detroit, so this is my first time in Cleveland, so I just want
Oh, welcome to Cleveland.
I want to ask, how do y'all feel about passion when it comes to art, and how did y'all overcome self-doubt and still regulate with self-doubt and persevering through that?
Ooh, that's a great question.
That's a really great question.
That is a great question. I literally battle with that every day, damn near every moment. Myself, I just push through it. It's the only way I know how to deal with it. I remember, the typical artist struggle of not making money and all that, and but I knew this was my purpose, so I just kept going. I would do one photography related thing every day, and I just persevered. Like it's all about resilience. That was one of your key words too.
Resilience.
I was gonna say, you said when we talked, resilient, that's right, pitfall.
But that's how I deal with that. Yeah. What about you?
What do I mean? I have an old saying, don't get mad, get creative. And I've been saying that for like the last 30 years. Now, there are times when I just get angry or frustrated about certain things, especially how the media spins stuff, or all these negative things are out here. And social media has, for all its greatness, there's all this negative stuff. And there are times when you feel like, man, it's like, I wish I could do something, but there's nothing I can do. So what do? You make something. You got to make something and express it. People, in my opinion, when they're oppressed by whatever entity that's out there keeping them that way, you have creativity as a weapon. And I think the camera or whatever format or medium you're working with, or any type of form of expression, is the best weapon there is. And that's usually what I do. I mean, literally, if I get upset about something, or if I'm really depressed about something, I have to find a way of just, you know what, let me just do something, and I'll come up with an idea, whether it's on paper or whether it's something that's going to be shot or even manipulated, because I do a lot of photo collage with optics and everything. And and then at the end of the day, you feel good, and you're like, wow. Then all of a sudden, that idea grows and becomes something totally bigger than what you ever expected, and you felt like you're taking out an army, and that's one of the greatest feelings ever. And that's the power of art. So, especially coming from where I grew up, because my parents once again kept telling me, just sort of, you don't want to do that. It's like, well, I want to do that, but I want to do it in a way that's going to really, lay down a foundation, like this film that's going to be playing a little soon. That was a film that I made because I was very angry about media, the legacy of cinema, and how it's exploited people of color and women all these years in mainstream movies, and I made a film about it. And I had no idea that film was going to grow as big as it did, but that's one of many things that evolves out of that. So, and by the way, I've shot in Detroit many times. That city has its own identity. Great place.
Oh yeah.
Every corner is
The
cinematic.
Midwest.
It's a great place.
Love Detroit.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at that love of the Midwest.
The Midwest shall rise again.
The Midwest shall what? Rise again. Look at that. Thank you all for your questions. Thank you, both of you. Let's give a round of applause for attending this. Truly, I'm so grateful that both of you are here. Thankful that we're sharing space in the respite.
Thanks
Again for doing this, Candace.
Both you guys.
And Bree. I'm going to be here after we finish this part, so if you want to ask me more questions, feel free.
Yeah, I'll be hanging out for a little bit too, and I have my laptop. If you guys want to see some other samples of work?
Yeah, please. We're going to have time to do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen next. So now we're going to transition into a time of lunch, community building, and art making. So at 3, we'll kind of start all that. So we'll have a little bit of time to use the bathroom, get some merch, get a shirt, get some temporary tattoos. Yeah, let's clap it up for the merch, please. Get a sticker, wear your mask, and then I'll explain a little bit about what we have going on. So in the tables to your left, there are coloring pages. There are pieces of paper to write letters, and we put prompts on all the different tables, so you can write on those pieces of paper. And then we have stamps with the one and only Toni Morrison on them for you to mail your letters off to. And these can, you don't have to use the prompts, but we just really want to help you dig deeper and engage with the work, engage with the themes of Emerge. So would also encourage you to look at the artwork and see what resonates with you and respond to it, and maybe write a little bit about how you're experiencing this moment right now. And then in the backpack, as you keep going straight, past the food, you will see a table with pieces of corn on it. And you might be like, Candace and Bree, why do you have corn here? Why would we have corn here, Bree?
Gosh, I think we would have corn to explore creatively.
Yeah.
I think there's an opportunity for us to make something bigger than ourselves with these corn objects.
Ooh.
What will we do? We're gonna screen print with this corn. We're gonna make some art to take away. Some
Yes.
Black Midwestern corn screen prints are going down today
In the respite.
in the respite.
And there's also a wall that has the word Midwest on it. You might have seen it, and it has a prompt for you to respond to. And we really, really want to capture a lot of responses. So there's little cards that you can write a reflection about what does it mean to be Black and Midwestern, or what does it mean if you're not like from the Midwest and you're maybe like visiting. What does it mean to be here in the Midwest? Yeah. So there's different ways you can respond to that and interpret that. But we really want to encourage you to also check out the books in the back where Savannah is. Savannah wave. Hey, Savannah. So there's books. Again, we have a book list, and you can talk to Savannah about that. Please have conversations. We're going to be walking around. Please have conversations with us. Please have conversations with Mr. Banks, McKinley. Please look at the art. Take pictures. Please take a lot of pictures. Make people really jealous that they're not here. And post it on your Instagram. And put tattoos on. And just look really cool, because you all look really cool. Get your fit check. And get a picture taken. Be on video. Talk to Had. Had, raise your hand. Naj, raise your hand. There's Naj and Had. And photographer Vivica. Let's shout out to the media team. Will, shout out. There will also be the DJ, Reg. I don't know where Reg is right now. Oh, hey, Reg. There's Reg. So there's going to be music. And yeah, what did I miss? Sorry. Yes, oral histories will start at 3 p.m. So whoever signed up for the first spot, Amber Bishop is in the oral history booth, ready for you. And please sign up if you haven't, if there's still space. And I think I said everything I needed to say.
That's it, yeah. You can sit wherever you would like over there. There are bistro tables outside. It's a little gloomy looking. I don't know about outside, but that's an option. Or you can sit in these chairs. It's up to you. It's a little tight, so be careful and have fun.
Have fun, and we'll dismiss with food. Well, we're going to set up with food. So thank you all.